So Joseon Dynasty is easy to study. This is what I always tell my students, because in Japan, for example, there are 3 different dynasties changing for the next 500 years. And also in China, because there was a very important war in the end of 16, beginning of 17, China is also going to divide it into 2 different dynasties. Joseon remained intact from around 1392, let's say 1400, all the way to 1910. So that's unusual. It's always beneficial for you. There is one less dynasty to study. So let me start my lecture. So hold on, let me see. I am recording. And I try to do this lecture in the beginning because now we started new, what's the name of it? Daylight savings, like summertime is over, right? So in Asia, already 11:30 p.m. We have a couple of students joining from Asia, right? So I want to give a lecture in the beginning, and then those students can, I mean, I think they can go to bed around soon, before midnight, I hope. Let's see. So early Joseon Dynasty. I'm going to first talk about painting. So we studied the Korea Dynasty. So Korea is right here, and it had a very difficult time because of the Mongol invasion of the Yuan Dynasty, but they survived it. So Mongol had a very different culture, right? And then eventually, hold on. I was going to explain the history of China. So there was a Ming Dynasty that was established in 1368. And the Joseon Dynasty will begin 1392. So you can see right after the fall of the Yuan Dynasty, there was a big change in East Asian cultural hegemony. So Korea Dynasty, they withstood it, and then eventually, because of the farmers' revolt from the south, Yuan Dynasty collapsed. And then Ming Dynasty started. So it started from the south, like Nanjing, like around this area, and then it spread. Eventually, they relocated their capital to Beijing. But in the beginning, their capital was in the south here, Nanjing. And then Ming Dynasty is based on by Han, like a Han ethnic group. So they want to return or restore the Han ethnic centered policy. So it's like a return of the Chinese dynasty. What I'm saying is Yuan Dynasty was foreign in its imperial family. They were Mongols. So that the here the founder of Ming Dynasty, his name is the 3rd Emperor Yonggol, but their family name is Zhu. Last name is Zhu. So this family of Zhu wanted to restore the old Chinese political system. So there will be government exams to hire government officials. And then there will be an imperial academy of painters. So this kind of portraiture was made by professional painters that were trained at the Imperial Art Academy. So they restore all those palaces. And I want you to remember this quote. It is not the Qing Dynasty that we are going to study later. It is Ming Dynasty close. Ming Dynasty close. So this is very important style of royal dress for Joseon Dynasty and also for Vietnam as well. It has a large sleeve, and then the dragons are painted, like a sort of embroidered on the chest, on the shoulders, and you can imagine there is one other on the back of the robe. And then only the Chinese emperor can wear the golden color, and you are going to see that Joseon Dynasty, which respected that China-centered cultural hegemony, they will choose a color of red. So they respected that imperial house of Ming Dynasty for their diplomatic relationship, and then they would wear this type of winged helmet. Headdress. So I want you to remember this. And then they are usually shown enthroned in their imperial chair. Right? Yeah. Joseon Dynasty started in 1392, lasted until 1910. It was annexed by Japan. So Korean people didn't go anywhere, but obviously the Joseon Dynasty by the Yi, the family of Yi, ended 1910. So let's say 1400 to 1900, it is a long 500 years. So Yi Seong-ge is his name, and he was originally general of the dynasty, but he was a very popular man. So his subordinates encouraged him to claim a throne. Korea now lost hope, and we need a new regime, and so Yi Seong-ge created a new dynasty called Joseon. And then, do you remember where was the capital of Korea dynasty? It was Kaesong, remember? So it's slightly to the north from the half of the Korean peninsula. So Yi moved their capital from Kaesong to Seoul, current Seoul. It was the Hanyang time. Was called Hanyang time. So that's how Seoul became the capital of modern Korea as well. And then this is important. So 1446, Korean people will have their own vernacular alphabets. So you may wonder then what kind of language they use to record history. So for oral words, right, like spoken words, they always use the Korean, distinctive their own vernacular languages. But when they compose written documents, they use the Chinese words. So in a way, it is a dual language system. You forget, it is like a dual language system for the elite. So that means about 95% of Koreans, they cannot read and write Chinese characters. You need extra years of study, rigorous study. So in order to solve this problem, King Sejong, which we are going to study in a moment, he invented Korean alphabet, very important. And then this event, the Imjin War, or it's called the 7-Year War, that took place at the end of the 16th century, that created that early Joseon and late Joseon. So society changes before Joseon, before the Imjin War, that is stable and can I say orderly period. And after the Imjin War, the first half of Joseon Dynasty abruptly changes. And then they also had another massive military invasion by Manchus, and eventually these Manchus will create Qing Dynasty in China. So it's spelled as Qing, but that's not king. It's strange, but in Chinese romanization, Qing is pronounced as like this sound, like a ch sound. So it's a Qing dynasty. So China will have another dynasty, but Joseon survived. And then from 1876, Joseon is going through some humiliation in international relationship. So they will sign on a Ganghwa. That is the Ganghwa Island of the Korean Tripitaka, where you've seen that 80,000 wooden prints. So on that island, they are going to sign on a treaty against Japan and some other foreign countries. So they are going to suffer about 40 years of foreign influences, and they keep losing. And eventually, 1910, it was annexed by Japan.